What is your long-term value of being at that organization, right? At some point, are you going to grow too big that the stuff that you want to do, that firm is not going to allow you to do? And if that's the case, then maybe it's not the right firm for you to move to today.
Welcome to Advisor Talk with Frank LaRosa, brought to you by Elite Consulting Partners. It's the only podcast offering unfiltered guidance and the direct advice for all things concerning financial advisors, RIAs, and the practitioners in the wealth management business. And now, welcome to the show.
Hey everybody, welcome to Advisor Talk with Frank LaRosa. I am your host, Frank LaRosa, joined by my co-host, Stacey Frank. Stacey with an E. What's up?
Happy to be back, as always, and thanks for listening.
Felt like we just did this.
We did.
We did like that. Anyway, welcome back. For those that are continued listeners, we appreciate you listening. We appreciate all the kind words. We appreciate the great feedback. Going to start sending suggestions and reviews, and as we used to say, smash that like button, get us that 5-star rating. We appreciate it. For those of you who are new, welcome to the show. You may or may, I had to talk to an advisor this morning, and he said listens to my stuff all the time. I said, hey, did you know, he knew that we do it on YouTube. We have YouTube, but he actually never watches it. He usually just listens, which is great. We'll take it any way we can get it, right? But we do have a YouTube channel, so you get to look at us. We're color coordinated today in blues and light blues, and studio.
It wasn't planned.
Blue and light blue too. So yeah, I don't. It's an interesting story. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But welcome to the show. We have a great topic today. And again, it's all of our stuff is based on things that are happening real time, right? Like, what did we talk about today? What did we talk about yesterday? Now, today's Monday, so it was
Friday.
So it was Friday, unless you want to talk about the 49ers getting smashed this weekend since they beat our Eagles. That's what they get. Don't feel sorry for them. It was nice to see. It was nice to see. Anyway, so today we want to talk about something interesting, and that is how advisors leave enterprise value on the table when you're making a move. And it may not be what you think it is. And so you need to keep listening in order to find out. For those of you that follow me on Instagram, and I guess on LinkedIn, last week I was in Chicago at something called Strategic Coach, which is Dan Sullivan. A lot of advisors follow Dan Sullivan. Who, not how, and all this, unique skill set and unique ability, and all of those things, right?
Natural talents, and everybody should be focusing on their natural talents. And as you're a business owner and you start to grow, at another call with an advisor today, looking to be part of our M&A program. We talked about that. As his business is growing $600 million in AUM, he's getting to that point in time where he can't now do it all himself. Right. And so he has to figure out how does he reposition himself so that he can really scale, because at his level, he can't be managing client assets, investing all the money. Yeah, it's capacity problem.
Buyer stuff. Right. So it's how do you scale? That's not what we're talking about today. That's for another topic. But one of the things that I'll say learned last week, because I've already sort of known this, but I've never had it put this way before. And that is, and this is relative to making a move, right? And one of the things that we talk about with our clients that are interested in making a move, we take them through what's called our Elite Next Level process, which is a trademark process. And there's 5 steps, which we're not going to get into today, but it's a trademark process. And it's really about getting an advisor through the journey, not to an end game, right? Because there's never really necessarily an end game, but it helps them figure out and how to get to the vision that they have. Right. I ask a question a lot of times about what do you want to be when you grow up? And it started off as a very silly, it wasn't meant to be silly, but it was meant to be very direct and to get our clients to think about more than just like, I want to move from firm A to firm B because I hate compliance. Right. And this is all the stuff that we've been doing for a long time. But at Strategic Coach, the words that they're using are, we compared transactional versus transformational. And that really resonated with me and hit me hard because I was like, well, that's what we do, right? Yes, we can move an advisor from firm A to firm B because they just want the biggest check, right? And we can do that. We do well at that.
Yeah, we call it tunnel. It's like tunnel vision.
But that's a transaction,
right?
Right. It's like an advisor that, you can drop a big annuity ticket and you make good money on that client for that period of time. But did you build a relationship with that client? Is that transaction that you did with them a transformational transaction? Like, is it transforming their livelihood? Now, maybe there's products that you can say that you can, and I'm not going to get into the investment product side of it. But when we look at working with an advisor, we actually do put them into these two buckets, right? Is this a transaction that this advisor is looking for, or are they looking for something more transformational?
And what would an example of an advisor looking for something transactional be? Obviously, I just want a big check. That's something that's very common in our industry. But what else? What's another example of a transactional idea that someone might have?
Yeah, transactional could be not about the money. They're just leaving. They want to leave the firm that they're at because, compliance is choking them. And so they just want to go to a firm that's going to be easy on compliance, And they're trying to solve the immediate problem, right? And that is, I hate my compliance people. I just want to get out of this place. I don't really care. I mean, they don't say it this way, but I'm less concerned about whether or not that firm is going to be the right firm for me 15 or 20 years from now, right?
It's much more forward thinking.
It's much,
Well, being transactional is you're not being as forward.
Transactional is in the today, right? Right now, I need to solve my problem right now. I'm not really concerned about 10 years from now, right? And versus transformational is, yes, I have these problems with the firm that I'm at today, and that's part of the reason why I started this conversation. But ultimately, I'm looking for the firm that I want to affiliate with. I would say that's my forever home. It's like when you adopt a cat, right? Like you're at your forever home. They want the forever home, that home that's going to grow with them and allow them to achieve their long-term, as they say in scaling up and EOS, big, hairy, audacious goals. Like, that's transformational. We love working with clients like that. We have a lot more fun with clients like that, really digging deeper into understanding what are they trying to get accomplished.
Yeah.
Whether you're $1 million guy or a $5 million producer or you run a $10 million team, that's great, right? Where are you trying to take it?
Right, and that's the type of advisor and the type of consulting that we do to help the advisor evolve. They recognize that this is not something that you just put in a box and say, I want X. This is a recognition that the advisor will evolve as we take you through our process, and maybe your goals change slightly, and maybe the timeline of those goals change slightly, and what you want to achieve long term, whether it's growth or do you want to be a business or an enterprise. We talk about that.
Right.
So something transformational like this, the advisor needs to recognize that it's an evolution. And they have to have the patience and the stamina to get through it versus just the instant gratification. I want my check. I want better technology. I want flexible compliance.
Yeah. If you don't have a transformational mindset, and when you're going through a transition process and things come up as they always do in a transition, meaning the actual like paperwork and all that stuff, right? You have less patience for things, right? You have less patience for hiccups that are going to happen versus the advisor that is viewing this change as a transformational thing in their lives and in their business. They know that, yes, this is a pain in the neck, but it's a means to a greater end. One of the areas where I think that advisors with this difference of mindset leave a lot of money on the table is the transactional advisor. Just so we're clear here, we don't mean transactional advisor, the like advisor that does 80%
brokerage business, right?
That's not what we're talking about. In this term, you can be considered a transactional advisor and be 100% advisory. We're just talking about the concept of making the move to another firm, and where a lot of advisors make a mistake that are not thinking long term, not thinking transformationally. They tend to focus way too much on the deal itself versus the long-term payout
long-term economics, maybe equity, maybe other things that are part of one of the choices that are out there. And since they're not, so they're leaving money on the table. I've seen this a lot where they're choosing, yes, I understand that over 10 years or 15 years, I'll make more money at this other firm. But in the first 5 years, I'm making more money at this firm, right? That's transactional versus transformational.
Mm-hmm.
I have some clients that we're working on right now, and it's a group of guys, and they're all buddies. And I would say a couple of them are transformational advisors, and a couple of them are transactional advisors. Nothing wrong with it. We're not throwing stones. We're not disparaging either one. I'm just saying that be mindful about what you're trying to do, because you have to start asking different questions. As an example, if you don't necessarily care about long-term growth, maybe you don't focus on the qualities of the executive leadership team and the tenure of that executive leadership team, because your philosophy is, I'm not going to be around that long, so I don't really care. That could be a big mistake, right? Technology. How often do they go through technology? What does their platform look like? Some of those things are equally important to a transactional advisor. But what I have found is the transactional advisor just doesn't do as much due diligence on that stuff. Right?
Yeah, it's more of a transactional mindset about the transition. So let's just make sure that we're
That's a great
clear.
way to put it.
Transactional mindset about the transition. Once in a while, I say something smart.
Right. It's about transactional mindset about the transition.
Right.
And so, think about that. Again, I have some good friends that are transaction-based advisors. Like they'll make the move, they take the check. That's all good. They move at the end of 9 years. That's fine. But honestly, if we went back and we dialed them back 3 moves, if they just moved to a firm that had a much longer vision. Now, in some of their cases, you don't have the vision. You have to have a vision of where you want this thing to go. And so it makes it very difficult. But that is transformational. You really need to think about, what are you trying to get accomplished? If it's just about solving the problem today and, under my contract period, then you work on the deal, because you're not really trying to grow your business. You're not trying to build an enterprise. Because if you're trying to build an enterprise business, it can't be done in, 5 or 6 years, right? It takes many, many years to do that. So you have to be at a firm that you don't feel like you're going to outgrow. You don't feel, some firms, candidly, aren't really good for advisors that are looking to build enterprise businesses. They may be great firms, but they don't subscribe to, like, we want you to build an enterprise business and then go sell to a private equity firm. And so that's an example of, if you in your mind are a transformational advisor, meaning that's why you're making the move, you can't be looking at firms that don't subscribe to the same thing.
Yeah, I think the best, and I've taken many advisors through this type of discovery, we'll call it, type of assessment, where we're talking about, because many firms say that they'll help you grow. Oh, come here. We have better technology. We'll help you grow. Come here. We have, more open architecture product mix, whatever. We'll help you grow. But the truly transformational, in terms of growth-minded advisors, are the ones that are attracted to firms that firm can prove a track record of acquisition growth, of having a system in place or a staff to support, coaching the advisor on how to acquire a business. Not just saying, hey, we do that, come here, but here's our team, here's our support. We actually have a practice management or a business consulting team, like some firms do. Firms that have those entities in place with human capital to help the advisor go through a process, those are the firms that align better with a transformational mindset advisor.
Right. And so we say that you leave money on the table by not having interest in that, because you have to look at your business over a 10-year period of time. The reason why I say 10 is because most contracts nowadays are plus or minus 10 years. So you have to look at, what is the total, let's say, income value creation after 10 years of being at firm A, B, or C. And if you go if you look at one of the firms that has a team like Stacey's talking about, which is a growth team, that's their focus. They can have you talk to dozens of advisors that have, double, triple, quadruple their businesses. Then over that 10-year period of time, you have to use a different growth rate to compare side by side. We do that when we run our pro formas, right? When we sit down with a client, we run side by side comparisons of different firms. Some firms, have an average growth rate of their advisors of 3% or 4%. Some firms have 8%.
8%, right.
Right. So that's transformational, right? And you have to understand that because, yes, maybe you get a smaller deal from that firm when you go there. Or maybe the deal is the same, but they're a little bit more expensive to operate your business. So not necessarily payout, but maybe there's admin fees or different things like that.
Right.
Cost to do business there. But if they're going to help you grow faster, you'll end up making more money cumulatively over 10 years. That's transformational, not really a transaction. A transaction type move is like, well, how much am I going to make in the first 3 years of the deal that I have? Because that deal has an upfront component and then a back end in year 2 and a back end in year 3. So I only want to compare those 3 things. Mm-hmm. That's short-sighted. That advisor's leaving money on the table. They really are.
Yeah, one more thing I'll add just about the transformational growth or transformational mindset is that those advisors recognize that growth comes in multiple forms, right? Obviously, there's organic growth, there's acquisition growth, there's building efficiencies in your practice for growth, there's technology. There's so many pillars of growth. We talk about the 5 pillars of growth internally, not to give away the farm, but that's something that a transformational minded advisor will recognize, that don't just go to the firm that can just help you acquire a business. Look at all the different ways that firm can tap into the different pillars of growth for your business. That's transformation.
Right. It seems odd that we're talking about this, but it's really important because one of our goals when we work with a client is to get them to understand these things. Well, not really get them to understand them. If you don't understand them, you don't understand them. But educate you with the things that you should be looking at and the things that you should know. And then you make a decision, they make a decision, our clients make a decision on what they want to use or not use. And so I love to talk to our clients about where are you trying to go with your business? Like, don't be bashful. What is it that you're trying to get done? And our best relationships, the ones that I love the best, like one of the clients I was just referring to, he's a client, but I refer to him now as my buddy. We were just at lunch and I said, oh yeah, my buddy. Because that's, to me, we're building I'm helping him transform his business. I'm excited for where he's going to take this thing. And I'm not tied to it. I don't get paid if he quadruples his business, but it's exciting for me to help an advisor work through that and become, transform his business for himself, for his clients, for his family. It's not that we're not, I guess, buddies with advisors that are transactional.
No,
but we tend not to build the same type of relationship because it's just very one-dimensional. No different than when you have clients as an advisor that, you do one big trade with them, you do one big annuity with them versus a client where you're doing all of their holistic planning, right? And you're working with their children and you're working with their beneficiaries and their whatever it is, right? That's just a better relationship. You all know it. You have a better relationship with those clients the more you do with them. But the reason why you have a better relationship is because you're asking a lot more questions and you're looking at that client as a long-term value to your business. I mean, it's a relationship, but the long-term value, as Alex Ramosi says, lifetime value, right? What's the lifetime value of that relationship? It's the same way you have to look at a broker-dealer or an RIA that you're going to be joining. What is that relationship going to look like? What is your long-term value, LTV? What is your long-term value of being at that organization, right? At some point, are you going to grow too big that the stuff that you want to do, that firm is not going to allow you to do? And if that's the case, then maybe it's not the right firm for you to move to today, right? Or is there an option within that organization for you to pivot within that organization so that you don't have to actually, go through a whole other search all over again, lose momentum, take away valuable time from running your clients. That's the kind of stuff that we're talking about. This is why advisors leave tons of money on the table. This next one is gonna come across as really self-serving, but it is what it is, and maybe it is a little bit self-serving. The other way advisors leave a lot of money on the table is by going at this on their own. Meaning that, well, I can just call, any number of the firms. If it's a retail firm, meaning retail W-2, well, I know the branch manager in town, I can just call him. Or, well, I just did a Google search and I looked up LPL's number and I called LPL and I'm just going to work directly with a recruiter there. Okay. Well, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. One, because you're essentially talking to someone with one vested interest, and that is to get you to join their firm.
One view,
right? And you might be talking to 5 different recruiting firms, or excuse me, not recruiting firms, but firm recruiters, we call them internal recruiters at these different firms. And they're all going to tell you why they're the best thing since sliced bread, right? And, they're all going to tell you, which is the joke, right? Oh, we have the best culture. Or we have a great culture.
We have the best technology.
I've never come across a firm that actually said our culture's not that good. Right?
Who would say
or you know what? Our technology is not really that good. So maybe Raymond James, say you're talking to an LPL advisor. I'm not picking on any firm. Just saying you're talking to an LPL recruiter. 0 chance the LPL recruiter tells you that Raymond James' technology is better. Right? Or vice versa. Right? My point is, so you're really reliant on not your lie detector test, but your spidey senses.
Just one view.
Your spidey senses on whether or not they're actually being completely transparent with you or not. Where we come in is we know all the differences between the different firms. I was having this conversation at Strategic Coach last week with an advisor, and he had brought up Ameriprise as an example. He wasn't at Ameriprise, but I don't know how we got on the topic of Ameriprise. But anyway, and he was not saying maybe the nicest things about Ameriprise. And I said, listen, Ameriprise is a great firm for the right advisors. It's just like Raymond James is a great firm for the right advisors. LPL, same thing. I can go through the list. It doesn't mean that a firm is bad just because you didn't like the firm, right? And maybe they were at Ameriprise at one point. I don't remember. And so the point is, we help sift through all of the firms that are out there. I have a client right now that he was talking to some of those firms and quickly realized that he was in over his head in terms of like, wow, I really don't know what I don't know. And if you're listening to me, I appreciate the conversation. It was awesome this weekend. I really enjoyed talking to him. It's really a nice conversation. He's a transformational advisor, right? The vision that he's putting out for himself, I'm excited to help him find, right? But what he quickly realizes, wow, I don't know what I don't know. And all of these firms are telling me all this stuff, and I don't know what to sift through and what's real and what's Memorex for those of you that are a little bit older.
Right, and what's just noise.
And what's just noise, right.
And he probably recognizes that today, of course, we're going to help negotiate the best deal, the best payout, and all those transactional things. That's, to us, that's a given. But what most advisors don't realize is there's so many other components that you can't just do if you do this, direct or through what's out there on the internet or on AI.
He had this guy. One of the recruiters said, "Well, your deal is going to be less if you work with the consultant."
Right.
Which is actually not true. Whether the firm builds that into the economic deal, meaning like, okay, so it's part of the expense of doing the deal. Some firms do it that way. Some firms have a whole separate bucket just for our fees, right? But that's making an assumption that I don't do any negotiating, right? That's making an assumption that they give you the same deal that you would get off the street. And that's simply not the case, right? Because we know how to negotiate with these firms, we know what we can ask for, what we can't ask for. We know what deals are being offered, not only at different firms across the country, but the same firms across the country, right? Like that's a real thing. There are regions where the recruiter at the firm isn't really coming out with the best deal. For whatever reason, they're holding back because they know they're going to have to negotiate, right? But the problem is when you try to negotiate on your own, you don't know what to ask. And you get what you get. And so we're able to come in, and I can go through dozens of different types of things that I've done where I've gotten a substantially better deal for my clients than they would have gotten if they went direct, right? Firms understand that. Firms realize that. But that's another way that an advisor that's making a move that's not paying attention to how to do it is leaving money on the table, because there may be a payout scenario that we can work out. There may be, I'll just call it like marketing spend or boots on the ground, helping you with people coming on the ground, all different things, account waiver fees, things like not ACAT fees, but actually to a degree, sometimes we can, because some firms pay those things, some firms don't pay those. So we're able to work some of those things in, and because we've done these deals for so many years,
right? And because we've moved so many different advisors. In fairness to the firm recruiters, it's not their fault,
right.
But they don't work with the number of firms that we do.
Right.
They haven't moved other advisors to other firms to the extent that we have. So in fairness, they just don't have that unbiased knowledge.
Right.
So we can't criticize, but it's a fact of working with a consultant like us in a more transformational way to get the advisor to where they really belong.
Right.
And all that alignment.
So just think about those things if you're going down this path, right? Are you wanting to make this as a transactional move or a transformational move? And again, we're not saying that it's bad to be have a transactional move, right? If that's the purpose and that's your understanding, we can still help you with the things that you should be paying attention to, making sure that you get a really good deal, but ultimately, the advisors that do the best in making their moves and have long-term and really add long-term value to their business are the ones that are really viewing this as a transformational opportunity. I probably set a record for saying the word transformational.
Well, it's transformational. I'm willing to spend the time because, look, it's sometimes like living a double life when you're running your business and running your clients and still trying to exist and be supported at your current firm. But then now you're trying to, achieve this milestone or this transformation. It requires work. It does. And we can really sense which advisors are in that mindset versus which are not. But if you are, there's really so much more at the end of the rainbow.
Yeah. My one client asked me, like, what's my ideal client? And if you follow Alex Hermosi, Alex and Hermosi is HORMOZI, acquisition.com. I do a lot of stuff with him. And he talks about avatar. What's your ideal avatar? And we were talking about this. And one of the keys is coachability. One of them is service oriented, meaning they're service oriented with their clients because they understand what we do, and they're process oriented, meaning that they have their own processes and they can understand and appreciate that we have a process, and they allow us to take them through that process. Because we know, to your point, Stace, if you follow our process, which is this next level process, elite next level process, ELITE, not only can we help you get to the right firm, but we do it in a methodical way that makes it easier, right? So that you don't lose time. So like basically like making a move doesn't become your full-time job, right? We take you through this process in a very methodical way to help you narrow the focus from all the firms that are out there. There's so many out there, to that one firm that you've done your due diligence. You feel really strongly like this is the place I want to go. We help you through that process, and we do it in a way that doesn't distract you from your day job, basically, and that is just servicing your clients. Because the last thing we want to do is work with a client and the process becomes so convoluted that your revenue starts going down.
Right, because you're sort of living that double life.
Right.
And what I always say is if you go through this process and have those qualifications, those avatar qualifications, the right answer always surfaces. It just does. So when the advisor comes to the end of our process and says, where should I go? They actually know the answer because we've taken them through that evolution, that they're coachable, they have internal motivation, all those things we just listed. The right answer always comes to the surface. It just does.
I have a client that we've been working with, and he's perfect. In terms of he fits all of these things, right?
and we have an idea. He has an idea of where he thinks he wants to go, but he's still letting me take him through. Like, I could be a transactional person, be like, all right, great. Let's just sell him on that firm, right?
Yeah, XYZ firm has the biggest deal on the street.
Well, no, he wants to pick this. He thinks he's going to end up at the particular firm for all the right reasons. But if I was a transaction-focused consultant, I would just sell him on that. Like, okay, we don't need to talk to anybody else. Let's just go down that road.
Right.
And I would just sell the shit out of that, right? That's not the right thing to do. I'm still taking him through this process of talking to these other firms so that it reassures him and reaffirms, if he decided to pick that firm, that it really was the right firm. Because in my opinion, we're getting close, and I do think that that's probably going to be where he's going to end up. But I don't feel comfortable yet that he has all of the information to make an educated decision on why, right? That's the difference, because there are people out there in our business, my business, that are our business, that are transaction only. They only care about moving an advisor to the next firm as quickly as they can and get the highest payout they can. That they don't care whether it's the right or wrong firm, because in their philosophy is, well, if they go there and after 5 or 6 years they don't like it, I'll call them, I'll move them again. I'll just trade them again. That's the wrong approach.
Well, let's face it, a transformational process like what we have, or a transformational result, right? It's harder. It takes longer. And I think too many people get impatient. But in the end, like, we're in this for the long haul. And that's a huge separator from us and everybody else.
Yeah.
Or not everybody, but a lot of other transactional minded
Most
people.
of them. There's a couple good ones, and we talk about them. But that's the difference. And so make sure that if you're going through this process, you're understanding whether you're transactional or transformational, blah, blah, blah. More importantly, pick up the phone and call us. Let us help you through this process. There's so much more out there than you realize. Even if you do a Google search, or you want to use chat or something like that, it's only going to give you data points, but it's not going to give you the softer stuff. It's not going to tell you what that firm's been like to work there, what other advisors are thinking, what's the experience of the advisors that we've moved there been over the last 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years, right? And then it's not going to be, it's just a lot more work. I use the example, just the last story here. I use the example of Tom Brady. Again, it's getting the story. I'm going to have to find a new story because it's getting old. But when Tom Brady decided to leave the Patriots, he's Tom Brady. He could have called any owner of any firm, any team that he wanted, and they would have taken his phone call, probably cleared their schedule and taken his phone call. But he didn't do that. He called his agent, and he told him what he was looking for. And what he was looking for was not a transaction. He was looking for a transformational change in his career, right? At the end of his career, he wanted to see if he can make one more run and get to the Super Bowl. That's transformational. He didn't just say to his agent, I just want to go to the firm that's going to write me the biggest check, right? I keep saying firm. I want to go to the team that's going to be, he had a list of different things, warm climate, and I want control of my offense. I want to be able to bring players on that I want. Like, he had all these lists of things because all of that stuff fit into his narrative of, this is what I need in order to win another Super Bowl. That's what we do for our financial advisors. That is transformational. When you do it like that, when you take that approach, when you follow our elite next level process, your move will be exponentially better for you than if you take a transaction approach and just say, bring me to the firm with the biggest check.
And it will change your life.
And it'll change your life, it changes your family's lives, and it changes your clients' lives, because you can operate differently. Maybe you have better product offerings. Maybe you are able to market and brand. One of my clients, this gentleman, has a very unique niche kind of clients, and he can't market to them at all. Meaning,
I don't even understand that.
It's like he wants to get out his word of mouth, and they're lovely people, and they're just special people. And so where he's at, he can't do any of those things. So it's really hurting the market because he's not able to get out and help as many clients as he really can. I'm getting very passionate about this, as you can tell. So anyway, I know we're sort of ranting on about this, but this is really, really important. I need everyone to be thinking about this, about where you're at in your career. If you're thinking about making a move, what kind of move is it? What is it that you're really trying to get out of the move? And really, more importantly, why you should pick up the phone and call us. If you want to talk through this stuff and really want to work with someone that knows what they're talking about, since she's got a master's degree in psychology, you can pick up the phone and call Stacey at
856-816-6322, Stacey at eliteconsultingpartners.com. Stacey, don't forget the E, or Frank at
eliteconsultingpartners.com. Obviously, you can call me 856-316-4651. Shoot me a message on LinkedIn, or shoot me a DM on Instagram. We have some great stuff on there. Check out our YouTube channel. You can see all this stuff. And just don't go it alone. Whatever you do, don't go it alone. It's worth it for you to work with someone like us that will help guide you through the noise. It's just a lot of noise. Everybody's got a new bells and whistles and shiny objects. I did a podcast once about, we should do that. Like, don't fall in love with a shiny object. Anyway, give us a call if you have any questions, and just do some soul searching if you're going through this move, whether or not you are doing it based on a transaction or transformational end game. So with that said, thanks a lot.
Thanks so much.
If you enjoyed the show, hope you took some great notes. And if you know anybody else that wants to hear this or you think should hear this, please forward it to them. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Advisor Talk with Frank LaRosa. If you're looking for more advice or solutions on any topics relating to the financial services industry, or just want to subscribe to our podcast, head on over to eliteconsultingpartners.com/podcast.